call and grateful for technology to be able to connect during this challenging time. We honor the people who came before us, who tended to this land before us. We see in the chat people from all over the country and really the world. So we acknowledge, if y'all know the names of the tribes, the names of the tribes of the people who were on the land before us, then if you can drop them in the chat so we can acknowledge them, at least by seeing their names. We know that the indigenous people across the country were targeted with weaponized illness, and so we just really truly genuinely lift them up even more so during this challenging time. So on that note, let me just quickly introduce Frank, Waln, and Drea, who are going to tell you much more about themselves. So this is just a really quick, just so y'all know, our brother Frank Waln is a Lakota rapper and producer, musician, plays multiple instruments, and is recording artist, performing artist. He does residencies across the world, and he's a former Sacred Cypher creative, so he's a former fellow of our artist fellowship program, and just did a phenomenal residency just like in February, March. So he has such a rich story, which you all will hear from himself shortly. And Drea is our sister based in Buffalo, New York. She's a singer, songwriter. She has an incredible voice, who y'all will be able to hear, a musician as well, and composer. I mean, she does so much, super talented, and just dropped an album or EP, I believe, so check that out. But Drea is not only an artist, but a mother of 5 beautiful emerging artists, and a founder of a food pantry, a halal healthy food pantry in Buffalo, is a community leader and a servant. And so y'all will hear more about their stories. I just wanted to give you a little bit of a preview of who they are. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Frank and Drea.
Peace, everyone. I'm gonna introduce myself in my language first. Mitaku yapi, oyate tchecha omani, imacha pelo, naha iyuha chante washte nape chuza pelo. I just said hello, relatives. My Lakota name is Oyate Tchecha Omani, which in English translates to walks with the young nation or walks with the new nation. And I said, I welcome you all with an open heart and an open handshake. I'm going to get us started here with a song that I wrote based out of a tradition that Lakota people have. So something that we were taught in our culture, and starting to see it come back more, was we're always taught to call our spirits back every day, especially when you travel or, something traumatic happens. Our people, Lakotas, believe that your spirit can leave you even in pieces, fractions, or entirely, through different experiences, or even when you travel, your spirit might linger somewhere. And so even back in the day when they would call children in from playing, they would call their name 4 times. And we were taught to call your spirit back, at least 4 times to acknowledge the 4 directions. So, being an artist and adapting that practice every day, I went through a pretty traumatic experience recently. If you follow me on social media, you'll see this whole story. But basically, I felt like my spirit left me. I went through a pretty violent hospital stay on top of having a seizure. And so when I got home, I just felt this need to write a song to call my spirit back, because I felt like it was gone entirely after what I went through. And I picked up the flute, and the song that I'm about ready to play for you all just came out. Never have I ever had to not write a song. It just was there. And this is the first time in my life that's ever happened. And so I'm going to be sharing songs on the flute with you all today. These songs are some of probably my most personal songs I've ever written, and I'm preparing a flute album to release this month. And so this song will be on it. And this is the song I wrote to call our spirits back. So as I'm playing this, just call your own spirit back 4 or 7 times, whatever name you call yourself, because when I call my spirit back, I call it with my Lakota name. So whatever name you feel belongs to your spirit, call it back as you're listening to this. Thank you all very much. I'm gonna pass the mic over to my sister Drea now.
Thank you so much. Can you guys hear me? Okay. That was so beautiful. So beautiful. I love hearing, learn. I always feel like I learn from Frank whenever I'm in your presence. My name is Drea Denor, and Nor means light. I do believe that I'm here to share light. I think I'm a vessel for God's love and God's light, and I do not take that lightly at all. I'm very grateful to have that. This has been a very trying time, that we're all going through right now. And just to kind of echo what Frank said, and kind of like I was in a situation a few years ago where I felt like I wanted to take my own life. I didn't want to be here anymore. And so there was a song that just came to me, and it's called Stay Alive. And I don't sing that song a lot because I feel like it's a song that's like the song that I write to call spirits back. So it's crazy. It just came to me in one of my darkest hours, and I'm so grateful. That's a part of my gift, to be able to just hear music and to just hear words from God. And I do want to share that with you. But the reason why I'm sharing that is because during this time where we're kind of forced to be apart and forced to quarantine and forced to be distanced, it has been very trying to me, like, emotionally, spiritually, and even mentally. And I've found myself fighting in ways that I thought that I had overcome, and didn't necessarily want to ever be in a situation where I had to fight in that way. So I hear this song and I hum this song more than usual. And I just want to share it with you. It's called Stay Alive. Don't give up, don't give in, 'cause it's not over. Don't lose hope, hold fast to faith, 'cause it's not over. Stay alive, please stay alive, 'cause it's not over. Stay alive, please stay alive, 'cause it's not over. Don't give up and don't give in, 'cause it's not over. Don't lose hope, hold fast to faith, 'cause it's not over. It's not over. It's not over. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Stay alive, please stay alive, stay alive. Please stay alive. Oh, it's not over. It's not over. It's not over. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no.
Thank you. Thank y'all so much. So, you know, this series is really about like creatively connecting and creative connections to ourselves, to our ancestors, to our creator, and ultimately to each other. And so the first part of this particular cipher was just covering stories and songs about connecting to the self that Drea and Frank just shared with us. They were both very touching and beautiful, and the stories attached to them as well. Thank you all for being so vulnerable and sharing. So we wanted to offer to hear from people, from you all, of what stood out to you, what resonated. I see some comments in the chat, but want to give a moment for you to unmute. So if you can use the raise hand option, or literally just like raise your hand. And then our co-hosts, Binta and Aria, part of the arts and culture team at IMAN, who none of this would be possible without, will unmute you and let you, you know, talk to the artist, share back to the artist a little bit.
This was very touching, very beautiful. I'm a nurse, but I'm not working in the health field right at this moment. Fortunately, I'm blessed to be able to, shelter in place. But there was a healthcare worker that just took her own life recently, and it just breaks your heart that people are just so traumatized by this whole situation going on now, and just all the underlying issues surrounding it. So thank you, IMAN, and thank you, Drea and Frank, for doing this, because it's really very touching. We all needed this.
Yeah, I want to say also, something like it's very touching. We can relate to what's going on. It's a test for the whole world, and so we just have to follow, the guidance that God give us, our own common sense, and make sure that we stay safe. We don't venture out, just unless it's really necessary to go out. And we have to really help. I think that the whole world is finding ways to do things they didn't normally do. It's supporting people, and they're supporting neighbors. They're doing commercials you see on TV. They're all about loving and giving support. So I think this COVID-19 has really brought attention to the little thing we overlook. Thank you.
Appreciate that feedback from both of you. It really means a lot to me. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think we're gonna go to Sister Crystal, and that will be the last comment for this portion.
Yeah. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
All right. So hi everyone. I'm Crystal. I'm from the south side of Chicago. Like I literally live super close to the IMAN. And so like I feel like this kind of, I feel like it's not like, I don't feel like I'm on lockdown. I feel like more like I now have the time to self-reflect on just like everything, my trajectory. And so like specifically with like the two songs, like I was just thinking to myself, like, damn, like so much has happened in a year. Cause like the whole part of like staying alive, like I was in a really bad headspace last year. And like something just clicked in me this year where I was just like, nah, like I'm worthy of staying alive. And like, I also like saw help from IMAN. And so like with the licensed counselors. So it's just been like so helpful. And so like, you know, like we're worthy of being here, and the people that aren't able to continue like this journey with us as a result of this pandemic, like they don't just die then, right? They still live on. And so I think that's what I'm like thinking to myself as I'm hearing these two songs. Like people live on, like our souls, whatever, like just live on, just like the of our character, right? And so always be good.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, appreciate that, Crystal.
Thank you, Crystal. Uh-oh. Sorry, that was my bad. So thank you, Crystal. I know I said that that would be the last comment, but we did want to allow Sister Gloria to share really briefly, if you could. Thank you.
Yes, greetings to everyone. First of all, I just want to say to both of you, I'm absolutely blown away. Brother Frank, flutes have always just spoken to my heart, and I so appreciate it. And your words and your experience from being in a hospital, you know, I definitely understand how traumatizing that experience can be. I was formerly a hospital social worker, and for Sister Dreed, did I pronounce it correct?
Drea.
Drea, pardon me.
Okay.
I've always likened myself to be a pianist, though I cannot play a lick. And it was absolutely beautiful. Both of your souls really spoke to me. Your spirit spoke to me. And I want to congratulate you both for producing such beautiful works.
Thank you.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you all. Okay, so I think now we're gonna go on to the connection to ancestors, right? I think Frank's gonna kick us off.
Yeah. Thanks, sister. Thank you all for being here again. Thank you all for participating. So I'm gonna, like I said, today I'll be sharing songs that I wrote, particularly on the flute. Even though I'm a rapper, I'm a producer, I play several instruments. I'm preparing my first ever flute album to release this month, and it's songs I'm sharing with you all, but I recorded them outside, and a lot of them were recorded back home on my reservation. I was born and raised on the Rosebud Reservation in South Dakota. Lived there till I was 18. I got a scholarship and attended college, and eventually landed in Chicago, where I got affiliated and linked up with IMAN, who's like family to me now, and Chicago has become like a second home to me. But this song I'm about to share with you all actually is called Home. And I wrote this song for a multitude of reasons, but I think the biggest one being that for me, home is a really complex topic, and I don't really have a plain, straightforward definition of home or what home is. Home exists in a lot of different people and places for me, even on my people's homeland, you know. And, you know, when I talk to people about home from all different walks of life, you know, I realize colonialism and genocide affected us all over the world, and everybody has a complex definition of home. You know, a lot of people were displaced from their homes. Some people were ancestors were stolen from their homelands. Some people had to flee their homelands because of war. You know, my homeland was taken from me for the most part. You know, so we live in a time in a world, and I think especially given today's times, home is a really unique definition for a lot of people, and English doesn't capture it for me. I'm speaking my colonizer's language right now. I'm not fluent in Lakota. It was I'll speak on it a little later, but it was illegal actually under US law for Native people to practice our cultures and ceremonies until 1978. So not only do we suffer a physical genocide in this country, also cultural genocide under US law we are coming up out of. So, you know, our definitions of home are healing and recovering, I think. So for me, this is my definition of home in a song. And like I said, my colonizer's language doesn't do it for me. So I had to put it just into pure music and into this instrument my people have been playing for hundreds of thousands of years and an instrument that's played all over the world. And it reminds me of our global indigeneity as well. You know, we're all kind of, every time I speak with Drea, it seems like me and her are coming from a common source, a common root as artists, even though it comes out in different ways and we're from two different walks of life, you know. So I'm really grateful to be able to share this space with her and to share our songs in this way. This is home. And this is a song that's for everyone who is at home right now, those who can't be at the home they want to be at, those who are at home, maybe home isn't safe for them, you know, maybe home isn't really an ideal situation for you. You know, I had to flee home several times for many different reasons. So this song is for all of us in our unique, complex definitions of home. Thank you all very much. I'm gonna pass the mic over back to Sister Drea right now.
Oh, that just took me somewhere. Thank you, Frank. Speaking about our ancestors, one time I was in Belgium. Like, I'm a mom of 5, so, you know, a full-time artist, and on my journeys, at some point I ended up in Brussels. And even the way I ended up in this woman's house, I was supposed to be in Germany. I met somebody and she said, come to my house and stay here, and we're gonna put a show together by Monday. Just trust me. And I just felt like it was okay. So when I was in that house, one night I heard what I believe my ancestors sing to me. And it was a song called Thank You. And like the other sister said earlier, I believe that spirit is living, spirit does not die, and soul is living, it does not die. I believe that, and I believe that it's so important during this time for us to make sure that we are quiet as often as we can, to try to be still when we can, like without devices, without music playing, without, you know, television, without computers, just to be still and to listen. And I believe when we are quiet, I do believe that we can hear our ancestors communicate with us. And for me, that has been a very transformative experience for me, through through the Nina Simone project. I did a tribute to Nina Simone a few years ago, and I believe that Nina Simone visited me actually in a vision and gave me very clear instructions on what to do and how to do it and how to tell her story and how to kind of redeem what was taken from her in this life through this project. And that has been transformative to me. So it's kind of put me on a journey to help me to become a better listener. And that is my quest, is to be a better listener, to be a better vessel for whatever it is that needs to be communicated. And in this case, what was communicated to me were just two simple words, and it's just thank you. I kept hearing the melody over and over and over again. And then when I got home, I kind of added some things to it and wrote to it. But I do think that we can all hear, and I think we can all listen. So I'm going to share the song with you. Thank you, 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 thank you. For my life and for my strength, for the times that you kept me from the walls that come to weigh me down. For my legs and for my heart, for the ones who truly love me through it all. You never left my side. Thank you, 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 thank you. Oh, to breathe and oh, to think. Oh, to feel the spirit moving in my soul. That's how I know it is true. Oh, to laugh and oh, to cry. To feel my baby's heart lets me know that I am present. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, 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 thank you. I'm taking on thank you, 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 thank you.
Wow. Mashallah, thank you so much, Drea. I'm speechless, even though I have something to tell y'all. Wow. Okay. Thank you both, Frank and Drea, for sharing your stories and for reminding us to connect to our roots and our ancestry. I personally have learned a lot from both of y'all. Thank you so much. So we have time for one brief comment, if anybody wants to raise their hand really quickly, and then we'll move to the next portion of the session. I don't see any hands. Anybody have a question or want to ask anything or comment? And Dee Dee, okay.
Yeah, so like I was gonna offer for anyone else, but since no one said anything, I just want to thank you both. That was amazing. I literally just came from guiding a deep breathing mindfulness class, and deep breathing meditation class in Vicar. And just between what Frank presented, I mean, so I'm nice and calm, and then I heard Frank presenting, and I just closed my eyes, and it was beautiful. And then Drea, thank you so much, Frank. And then Drea, like when you came in, then when you hit that La ilaha illallah, that there's no God but God, like I felt it. So just thank you guys so much.
Appreciate that feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, and Dee Dee. So I'm gonna turn it over to my brother Frank.
Yes, for sure. It's funny that this happened without us planning, but Drea just shared a song, Thank You, and I'm now going to share a song with the exact same title. It's just funny how it's flowing. Like I said, we're coming from a common root, a common source, I think, as artists, and you're really seeing it in real time. This is the first time Drea and I have ever shared space like this, performed together, you know, and kind of linked up as artists. So you're kind of seeing that thread throughout. So this song is called Thank You, and this is and this is something that indigenous people, but also Lakota people, we write songs for everything. You know, we have songs for birth, death, we have social songs, ceremony songs, we have name giving songs, we probably got a song for writing a song, you know, like we got songs for everything. And we also have a lot of thank you songs. So you know, in that tradition, I think we're just continuing on the tradition that our ancestors always did. It was writing songs, writing thank you songs, using our gifts for our community, for our families, for the people that we love. Just like Drea said, just becoming vessels, you know, as artists. And so this song is called Wopila, which is the Lakota word for thank you. And I wrote this song for someone who saved my life. In the fall of 2018, back home on my reservation, one of our spiritual leaders, an elder, passed away. His name was Roy Stone Sr. And he was a spiritual leader. He was what we call a medicine man. And in our culture, these aren't things that are learned. They're passed down through bloodlines and through families and through dreams and visions and gifts. You know, so you can't just choose to be a medicine man, you know. And whenever we went through genocide and the US government took all of our songs, our dances, our prayers, and they called it religion, and then they banned it under US law. And so that's how they were able to make all indigenous cultures illegal under US law from 1884 to 1978, almost 100 years. So we were suffering colonization and a genocide where over 99.8% of us were killed through war, through famine, through diseases, through pandemics. And then they put us on reservations, which were concentration camps. You know, they weren't just these handouts, these havens. They were actually death camps where we were marched to die. And then just a side note, in 2017, I made a trip to Palestine to visit Palestinian artists and families. And what I saw out there was very similar to what I've read about early reservation systems, basically like an open air prison system to keep people in a death camp. And that's what reservations were in the United States after, you know, we suffered colonization and genocide in its first wave. And so this medicine man that passed on saved my life, because I didn't start doing ceremony or praying in our traditional way until I was like 19. You know, I grew up disconnected from all that, as did a lot of people from my generation and before, because it was illegal. you know? And so we would get literally arrested back home on my reservation for singing our songs, for dancing, for praying. They said we were devil worshiping under US law, and they would throw us in a sane asylum for Indians in South Dakota anyway. And you'll still see old rundown buildings that say a sane asylum for Indians. So, you know, this history is not that long ago. I know some people on this call were alive when it was illegal for me to share the things that I'm sharing with you all right now, you know. So this colonization is very real and ongoing. So this medicine man, despite it being illegal, picked up his gift and kept it going underground long before I was born. And then when I was 19, you know, similar to Drea, coming from a community that survived genocide, my community sits in one of the poorest counties in the whole country. There's a lot of poverty. There's a lot of addiction issues. There's a lot of violence. There's not a lot of resources. And so, you know, my family suffers a lot still to this day. A lot of people suffer in my home community. And because of that, I suffered, you know, a lot of depression, anxiety, similar to Drea, suicidal ideation from, you know, going back as far as being 9 years old as I can remember. You know, so when I was 19, I didn't really have anything but music. And that was my lifeline that kept me alive. I started playing and writing these songs to keep myself alive. It was one of the few things that made me feel good, you know, just living and being alive in a place like a settler colony built on the genocide of my people. And so when I was 19, something inside of me, which I now know is my spirit, was just telling me to go do ceremony, go to this place. I had aunties and uncles that were going to this man, praying and getting help, starting to go back. You know, I had some family members that started reconnecting, and then something inside of me was telling me to do the same. And so I went to him for help, and I did some ceremonies that saved my life. And my Lakota name that I gave you all and introduced myself in actually came from him, came from his spirits. And in Lakota way, when that happens and someone gives you your name, they become spiritually your parent. You know, so he was more than just a grandfather to me. He was like a father. And he treated me better than a lot of my own blood treated me, you know, believe it or not. And like I said, his gift saved my life more than once. And I often think about that, how if I grew up before 78, I might have been dead, because I wouldn't have been able to as easily go and pray with him because it was illegal. You know, so the timing of things is important too. Time is a funny thing, but he passed on, and it seems like my world's been a lot darker without him. And I found a new place to pray, and a new leader, a new person to go to for help. But it was a bit of a journey, you know, not having him here. And so I wrote this song to say thank you to him, because when he passed on, I realized I'm alive because of him. I do what I do because of him, and the things that I learned from him. And I could never say thank you enough in English. It wouldn't do it. So I figured I'll write him a song and live my life to the fullest to say thank you. And so the song is Wopila. This is for Roy Stone Sr., an elder, a Lakota elder, who saved my life. Thank you very much. I dedicate that song to Roy Stone Sr., but say thank you to our elders for allowing us, even opening up the space, and just say a quick thought and prayer for all of our elders that are really affected by this pandemic right now, especially the indigenous elders who are our knowledge keepers and our culture bearers, and worth more than anything to us, so thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Frank. I think that's like my third time hearing that song. I still get really emotional. I pray for your spiritual father. I pray that he is well where he is, and for your entire family. So we have time for a few comments. You all want to use that raise your hand option?
Wait, Vinta, before we do that, Drea wants to, Drea has to share for this portion, which is the connection to creator piece. So we'll turn it over to Drea.
Thank you.
Sorry. I just think I just wish that we could all just like take a deep breath together, because what Frank offered was so precious. It's so precious, and I just have to take a second to honor, what Frank just offered, because it was so dear and just really touched me. So if we could all just take a deep breath together. And again. Just one more time. Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you, Frank. Oh. If you provide the fire, I'll provide the sacrifice. If you pour out your spirit, then I'll open up inside. Fill me up, God. Fill me up, God. Fill me up, God. Fill me up. Fill me up, God. Fill me up, God. Fill me up, God. Fill me up. If you provide the fire,
your spirit. Live out open inside of me, oh God. Fill me up, God. Fill me up, God. Fill me up. Fill me up, God. Fill me up, God. Fill me up, God. Fill me up. Fill me up till I overflow. I want to flow over. I want to flow over. Fill me up till I overflow. I want to flow over. I want to flow over. Fill me up, God. Fill me up, God. Fill me up, God. Fill us up. Fill us up, God. Fill us up, God. Till we want no more. Fill us up.
Thank you, Sister Drea. I needed that after sharing what I shared. Thank you.
Thank you both. Truly feel filled up. I feel inspired to be connected to just, you know, kind of go inward. That's what these InnerNet Cyphers are about. And in that going inner, being connected to, you know, my ancestry, my roots, and to, you know, our creator, and really ultimately to each other. Part of what Drea and Frank and I were discussing and planning this was, you know, just the power of being able to connect in a more natural way, despite all of this technology that exists, and even just, you know, the Bluetooth rays and the Wi-Fi rays that exist, but being able to connect on this platform, it's like we really are speaking the language of our people and are, you know, finding that connection. And again, I just want to lift up how it's these artists who are helping to facilitate that in a very penetrating and a very quick and like efficient way. That's what I think, you know, artists are tugging at our souls and awakening them. And I'm like just very grateful to all, you know, to the both of y'all for being able to facilitate this. The comments in this chat are off the hook. I can't wait to share them with you all about just you know, feedback that people are giving. So we will share that with you all. But before we close, and if y'all have any more comments, you're welcome to share them with us through emailing us at arts@IMAN Central. We will share that back with Frank and Drea. But before we formally close, I want to turn it over to our executive director and one of our founders of IMAN, who I can't even go through who he is or what his bio is. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to him to give us some closing comments. Rami.
Assalamu alaikum, peace and blessings to everyone. I said, Sadia, I would be interested in just saying a thought or two, but that was before Frank and Drea, honestly. And I'm honestly sitting here a little kind of, it's hard to share things right now because I'm just still experiencing that. I will say this, that, you know, the theme of gratitude clearly permeated throughout this, and we have a tradition that says, La yushkur nas, la yushkur Allah. Those who do not show gratitude to the people, to those who've come before us, to those who've made sacrifices for us, to those who we often forget to thank, are mindful of thanking, that we in fact don't show gratitude to God. This is the month of Ramadan for us. It's the most sacred days of the calendar in the year. And above and beyond everything else, it is about showing gratitude to the divine. Belief and gratitude are so connected time and time again in the Quran for us. Fadhkuruni adhkurukum washkuruli wala takfurun. The tradition says, remember me and I remember you. Be among those who show gratitude and not among those who cover up the truth. And so, as Sadia was just saying, we're very grateful to each of you for coming with us on this journey throughout this sacred moment with us. And, Drea and Frank, you are perhaps among the most beautiful sacred souls that I know that are currently walking on the planet. And I thank you, and I thank God for the gift of both of you, and for all of our artists in this month to connect with one another and to connect with the divine and connect with the greater purpose. Thank you to Sadia Binta and the Arts and Culture Department for facilitating this, and for all of you for coming on. May you have a blessed month in however way you recognize that, and hope to see you on these sessions again. Assalamu alaikum, peace and blessings.
Wa alaikum assalam. If you wanted to share a comment with Frank or Drea, please email us at arts@imancentral.org. Share it with them directly on social media, at Frank Waln, at Drea Denur, at IMAN Central, #IMAN Arts. It's really important, especially during this sacred month, for us to get the word out about IMAN, for people to share their experiences, because this is a really big moment for us to let the mass public know about IMAN, and also to support our largest fundraising drive of the year. The work that we do, from all of what I shared at the beginning of the call, and the on-the-ground response to the needs of our community during this pandemic, is, this is a critical moment for us to raise the funds to make that happen. So, a prayer is so greatly appreciated from y'all, a genuine and sincere prayer, a retweet, a post, sharing with your networks about what IMAN does, signing up to our listserv, following us. All of that is very much so appreciated, and just to support that drive. So we want to thank y'all again, and close out on the note of on the closing prayer, just grateful to the Most High for the time that we were able to spend together. We know that we would be at a state of loss if it wasn't for those of us who give each other good reminders to persevere and to constancy and to the truth. And so thank the Most High for each other, for good company, and for the time that we're able to spend together. Thank you all so much again for joining. Much love to y'all. Peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, everybody. Peace.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Drea. Peace.